What's up and good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to another video. I just dealt with the biggest nightmare of Home Depot trips I've had in a long time. I was at Home Depot for 4 hours waiting for the most incompetent forklift driver ever to bring out all of the composite decking that you see behind me. Yeah, I don't even really want to go too deep into how annoying that was and how useless everybody was that was working today. But basically, he brought out the 16 footers and on top he had an entire unit of 12 footers. Well, I only need 30 12 footers. Those are right there. So he was gonna set these down, I guess, and then we were gonna pull out 26 of the 12 footers that they were gonna take back because I think there was 56 in a bundle. I don't really understand why. Instead of making like a nice bundle out of the 30 and the 16 footer, like just put everything together, band it, and be good. He decided we were gonna do that out in the parking lot. Well, then he goes to set it down, and his flagger, because God forbid we can't do anything without a flagger, was like, hey, they're gonna slide off, because instead of lowering the forks, he was tilting the forks. He just didn't say anything, and he slowly starts to lower, but then keeps tilting, and then everything just rolls right on off. See in the picture here, we then had to cut open that bundle of 12 footers because there's no way we're picking them back up with the forklift at this point. And once we did, they almost flew all off the side of the trailer. The girl that was flagging caught some of them, I caught some of them, and basically they took their 26 and then just bounced and left me with this giant mess on the trailer that I had to reconfigure into something somewhat reasonable that would make it out to the ranch. I mean, you can see these are all just super jumbled. I know some have some scratches on it that are very unacceptable that will be going back. I'm honestly surprised this made it out to the ranch. If you guys have ever dealt with this composite stuff, it slides like freaking an ice skating rink. I mean, these are all strapped together. I strapped it as good as I could, but now we're not working on this till tomorrow. I got to get these to somewhat of a decent flat position because I don't want this curve to, you know, with the heat of the sun, this curve being like held into it, it like holds this shape. We don't want that. We got to lay these flat somewhere, probably up on the deck, but it's going to be hard to get them up there because you're supposed to support this every 2 feet when you're storing it. A lot of you guys are going to notice this is not Trex. This is like the Home Depot knockoff version of Trex. Decently cheaper. That's why I went with it. You know, will it last as long? Who knows? Does it really matter? Not exactly. Had to get real creative with the strapping to hold this freaking thing together. You can see how far these slid back, even with like, I don't know, 6 straps on them. These pieces slid back a good foot. I left the ramps up and I locked them in the up position, just in the odd chance that a bunch of these went flying backwards. At least they weren't flying off on cars, and we had somewhat of a chance of saving them. But man, I was really nervous on this drive that we were gonna lose, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars of decking. Let's see if we can somewhat get this stack off again. Half of it's fallen over, half of it's facing the wrong way. It is, though, all banded together, which is not really the best in this situation, but let's see what happens. I'm gonna try to not damage any of these more than the dummy at Home Depot already damaged them. Nice and gentle. Look at that, we got the whole stack. Now what do we do with it? Ideally, I set it up on that deck. That's a lot of concentrated weight in one spot on that deck. I don't know if that's the best idea, but we need to keep it flat till tomorrow. Got a straggler. Look at, he's falling out there. God, I hate how much this stuff just slides around. All right, you just do what you do till you fall out. Hopefully, don't break in half. We don't want that. You're expensive. All right, maybe if we keep you low, you'll stay happy. Here, let me push you back in. No, all right, you're just gonna ride along the ground, I guess, until we get to wherever we're going. But this one board is gonna be in our freaking way because he wants to slide out, but not slide out all the way. Get your butt back in there, man. You stay in there. Stack actually kind of flattened itself back out. It's a lot of weight to put in one concentrated spot on the deck. I'm going to use these 2x4s to hopefully give us enough support every couple of feet. And then really I need to cut this band off because I need to get these stickers out from the bottom. But I don't know if that's a good idea. This thing's probably going to get all kinds of crazy and wonky if we do that. All right, here goes nothing. Let's see if we can set this up top. I could honestly probably just have done this on the trailer. It's probably smarter. And just keep them flat on the trailer, but This isn't exactly the easiest spot to grab them as we're doing the decking. We're gonna start on the 12-foot side, obviously, because that's the side that, like, if we can get that done, we can actually enjoy the pool. We've been in it a little bit already though, and the water, oh, like a perfect, nice warm temperature. It's been awesome. And they're gonna get bound up. Now, y'all, it ain't time to go swimming. Oh, you guys gotta get out of the pool. However that's gonna work. All right, well, I think we're pretty dang flat there. This side's kind of doing a little bit of a weird droop, but I think we can consider that all right. Now, my original plan was to get all of this delivered because I wanted nothing to do with trying to move, you know, this composite decking around, trying to load it on the trailer, dealing with Home Depot. Like, I just wanted to order it. Oh, and we just lost 3 pieces. Oh, and there it all goes. You know, if we actually had this banded together properly and stacked properly and the boards were all like nice and flat like they should have been on the trailer, I could easily just pick these things off. But Home Depot being $1 billion corporation, their online system shows like, oh, X store has, let's say, 85 in stock, but it's got 111 available for delivery tomorrow. So you click, great, let's do delivery. You click, find everything you want, boom, get the checkout, and it says, oh, no, we don't have that much for delivery. Like, but it says that right there. Okay, you know what, I'll buy the 85 in store. Let me click there to pick up at the store. And then you do that and it's like, no, well, actually we do have 110 for delivery if you want that. You click back, it's a nightmare. Whew, what a headache. All right, everything's unloaded. This is it for the day. Again, you can see the sun's going down because I spent my whole dang freaking day at Home Depot. It is too humid for this. I could do dry heat all day long. Me and humidity, we don't get along so much, but we got a fresh start in the morning. Hopefully better attitudes in the morning as well. Pretty pissed off today. Well, y'all, the weather has taken a drastic turn. We've gotten some gnarly winds all morning. It's like the one little calm time. Since my external mic on my GoPro decided to go swimming when we were filling the pool, we were just kind of living with the regular mics on here, which don't do very well in wind. So I've put some fur over top of them that hopefully helps for this video. But if some of the noise gets washed out by the wind, I am sorry. Should be an interesting day. Looks like we got a monsoon coming in. I bought a brand new planer from Milwaukee. They're cordless planer. There's a couple of joists that have a little weird lip on them, and we fought everything we could to get them back to like flush with each other. It just wasn't worth the battle. Instead, we're gonna come in and we're just gonna plane those down. So I've never used one of the Milwaukee planers. I mean, I really never used a handheld planer for much of my projects. We have the big standalone planers that you feed the wood through. We use those from time to time. Oh, this is not a one-handed job. I gotta say, that planer is pretty badass. It definitely makes a giant mess though. You can see all of these shavings down there. I tried to keep as much out of the pool as I could, but some got in there. Abel's going around right now and getting that out. But you can see what we were doing is we were taking down joists that were just a hair high, higher than the rim, and we are flattening them out to where this area is flush. So when we put a board on here, if this area is higher, the board's gonna wanna rock. But now it'll sit nice and flat. We hit right there, right there. We did a couple of these, that one right there. Very impressed with that planer though, that's for sure. Now, I know somebody's gonna say it, I did get some protective joist tape. This is butyl tape, which basically you put down on top of the joists. That way when you screw through this, as well, especially right here when we're planing it, we're taking off like a surface. The butyl tape will do, especially when it heats up, is it'll kind of seal that screw hole. And it's supposed to make your deck last longer. Everybody, like, this is the new rage, right? Everybody's taping their decks. Again, I'm not a deck builder. I don't need this deck to last 30 years. I don't foresee it lasting 30 years, but, and this is also a pretty expensive process. I know you can buy the bigger rolls of like flashing and cut it down. I actually bought some because I couldn't find this tape, but we've got a lot of footage to do. One roll of this is about $18 and it does 50 feet. Well, from here to there is 12 feet per joist. So we can do 4 of these per roll. We've got a lot of rolls we need to use to do this. I don't even know if I bought enough, honestly, to get this done. But now there's a bunch of different designs you can do when building decks with composite decking. Typically, most people don't like to butt joints together. That's where, like, you run a 16-foot board, and then right up next to it you run another 16-foot board. You continue on, and then you start back at the beginning. Either you split it, you know, you put a smaller piece and then you continue, that way your joints don't line up. Because you have to leave a gap with composite decking that you typically don't leave with like wood decking, a lot of people opt to not do it that way. So what they'll do is they'll run a bunch of 16-footers, and then wherever those end, they'll run a strip this way instead of long ways. And that's your seam that breaks it up. You gotta put more blocking in and all that. I don't really wanna do that. I don't care for that design for this. I did get some connectors that are gonna allow me to butt these together without having to double up my joists or anything like that. I believe that's the plan. So we're just gonna keep running these long. I'm gonna run a 16-footer. We're gonna butt up another one to it, and we're just gonna do it like a traditional style of deck versus the way that a lot of people tend to do these decks. Now we've got these flat edges on the 12-footers, which are right there. They don't have the groove in the side for the hidden fasteners. Those are gonna be all on the edge of the pool and the perimeter of the deck. And that's what we're gonna be putting in first. We'll put these on the edge, and then we'll go in and infill the rest. So they're working on some more blocking, because in corners like this, we're gonna be putting a 45-degree miter on it, and we need enough room around here to be able to screw into and actually keep this miter nice and tight. And while I say 45-degree miter, we know that the pool deck isn't quite square. Well, the pool's not square to the pool deck, which probably means the pool deck's probably not super square. So I don't really know exactly what angle this is gonna end up at, but we'll make it look good. Well, the winds are starting to pick back up. Let's see. Oh, and they've died down. Oh, no, here we go. Let's see. We're gonna roll in. Not too bad right now. Not too bad. I think the most we've measured this thing's about 70 miles an hour out here. We've had reported 100-mile-an-hour winds. I just didn't own one of these. Mama Rhino got me this a while back, so we can measure some air speed. Okay, first corner blocking is in. Again, it's nothing fancy or, you know, whatever. It's just enough for us to screw into, and it is tied to the framing. Abel's putting down the first strip of tape. Now again, each roll is going to do 4 of these joists, so we're probably going to come about halfway, stop, go to the next one. That way, in case I don't have enough rolls today, we can actually do the full width of the pool. We just might not be able to do the full length this way. We'll just start working our way from the pool back. Reason being is, if there's some kind of weird funky cut, I want it to be on this side, because this side's kind of weird and funky already, versus having some weird sliver or something on the pool side. Most of the taping has been done. I'm gonna start working on getting this corner dialed in. Now, also remember, we're working with a saw that has fallen off of scaffolding and is not quite trued up to where it should be. So that's gonna make today a little bit more interesting. I've got my first corner cut. Let's see, I think it ended up being, it's like a 46 degree on one side there. So basically what I'm doing is I'm cutting that 45 degrees, and then I'm setting this board in where I want it, setting on top, marking it, and that way I get a tight joint versus trying to guess the angle. So obviously nothing's in place yet. We're just trying to fit everything up. For these boards, we're not going to be using hidden fasteners. We've got the Cortex. Well, I mean, I guess they are hidden fasteners, but you actually have to do something about it. So it's got this little attachment here. This sets the screw, and then also, I guess, cores out a little spot for these little plugs. And then you come back in and you hammer these in, and it hides the actual screw head. For everything else, we're going to be using a clip system, which goes down below. Thankfully, we only have to do this for this section. I've seen guys that do entire decks out of these, and then they got to go through and put 10,000 of these little plugs in the holes. That looks miserable. I don't want to do that. So these Cortex screws are pretty cool. It actually sets it to a predetermined depth, kind of like a drywall screw gun does. And then again, that's, I guess, the perfect depth for those plugs to go in. You have to pre-drill. I mean, that's what they say. So I'm pre-drilling a little hole, and I'm trying to keep everything to where like my layout looks somewhat clean. I don't believe that these plugs are the exact color of this deck. It's like, might be a shade off. They only had so many different choices. Oh, there's a little fuzzy on the camera there. So it's the same brand. I believe it's the same color. Looks similar. Might be just a hair off. Whatever. Not the end of the world. Well, we've started to get a little bit of rain. Just some raindrops you can see in the pool. I gotta come through and vacuum all that little light crap and sawdust and stuff that accumulated on the bottom of the pool. But we're working along this edge, and it's weird because these boards have one perfectly squared cut edge, and then the other one, like, they just willy-nilly did. I don't know why. You can like machine these to one side great, but not the other side. I guess they assume you're going to be cutting it to fit on your joist layout, but still, like, you could have tried a little better. But anyways, we are working our way down. That corner looks nice and tight, and we're gonna run all the way down this edge. We'll do one board that way, and then we're gonna start working in the field here, well, actually we gotta do the 2 edges out there first, then we'll do the field. Right now, Abel and Chava are putting in blocking on that edge so we can put, so we can do basically the same thing we're doing here on the outside edge of the deck. Alrighty, y'all. Well, yesterday I had a doctor's appointment, so we only filmed just a little bit in the morning. Today, the guys are finishing up putting the tape, and me and HYPERLITE are jumping on getting the decking put down. And the first couple boards are always the worst. It's when we're kind of coming up with our technique, our method, and slash figuring out how out of square things are. So originally I was gonna cut these and then obviously leave a gap, but we have that little trim board that goes there. We're gonna butt up to them. However, that side of the deck is decently out of square to the pool. So we can sit there and try to find that angle, and they might all end up hitting in the right spot, or what we're gonna do is we're gonna run them long, and then we're just gonna come back later with a straight edge. We'll cut that exactly where it needs to be. That's how a lot of the deck guys do it. I was just hoping we can get away from doing it that way. We're pulling that trim board out because, again, that didn't really work. And then on these end pieces, they make end clips because if you see on the pool edge, this piece doesn't have a little slot in it, whereas, where is it at? This piece has the slot for the connectors, which you can see right there. So HYPERLITE went ahead and we trimmed off half of that connector. You can toenail into here. We could do the same system of coring and plugging into here, but the least holes that we put in the deck, the happier that I am. Now we have these connectors right here, which are going to allow us to do butt joints without having to put any screws in the top or having to kind of get weird and toenail screws. These are from Fiberon. They're super wide, so I bought these just for the butt connections, and then we've got the regular clips, which I'll show you. You can't really see them in there. They're in that bucket back there for all of the rest in the field. Well, actually, here we go. And these are this, well, that one's gone. That was only like $7 that just fell. Okay, so these are the connectors we're gonna be using in the field. I like them because they hold onto the joist. They got those little clips right there. But if you'll notice, this part that goes into the slot is very narrow. So you wouldn't really be able to catch 2 boards comfortably with that piece. But these other connectors are much, much wider, and they'll be able to grab significantly 2 of the boards, which gives me enough confidence to butt joint these instead of having to double joist or do all kinds of craziness, because we don't really want to do that. Okay, we're finally getting a system down and we are moving along. Just a ton of screws, especially when you're doing 12 on center. I mean, these guys they're becoming millionaires just off of selling the hardware for this type of stuff. You can do it differently if you want. You don't have to buy that style of clip. You can buy the attachment to where you just actually toenail into each one of these as you're putting them in place. But to me, this just seems quicker and simpler, albeit significantly more expensive. But even the box of screws that I was using for the edges, I think one box that does 50 feet, they say, that's 25 bucks. So you burn through a lot of screws. There's probably going to be at least $1,000 in hardware on the top part of the deck by the time we're done, at least. But everything is looking good. Our butt joints are looking good. We're leaving them about a tight 1/8 right there. I think that should be plenty of room for expansion. Also, I hired a pool guy who will be here tomorrow and hopefully gets this all dialed in. We got a little bit of dirt still left in there. I did some vacuuming, which stirred up some sediment, so it looks a little bit cloudy right now. Purchased a very expensive vacuum that I'll be putting in here to keep the bottom clean, especially when we get windstorms like we had yesterday. It's honestly not as bad as I thought it was going to end up being though, so that's good. There's still some dirt right there though, those little yellow spots you see. Just got to brush that up. The filter is actually doing a decent job. I know a lot of people don't think the filters can keep up, but it's doing a pretty good job. Now, instead of using the miter saw, because trying to cut 16 footers, they're clunky, they're bendy, it's not fun to bring over to the miter saw. I'm just using a square and just using my little 12-volt circ saw. It just makes it really easy, especially considering both sides of these are bad cuts from the factory. So they both need to eventually get cut at some point. So what I do is I cut one good side, we butt it up to where we want it, and then I just come over to whatever measurement's gonna split the joist, I'll mark that, I'll cut it right in place. We really don't have to move a 16-footer a bunch of different places because these aren't fun to move around. And it makes it easy. I just come over to the stack, super easy. Just pick a spot there, use our square to keep us nice and square. There we go. And then this isn't the right blade for this. Is a fast framing blade. It's probably like the exact opposite blade that you want to use, but it actually leaves the ends pretty decent. I just come through one time with a knife and clean her up, just to get that last little bit of stuff off the top, and we are good to go. Now we, oh geez, just carry it into place. These are Papa Rhino's dummy clips that he sanded his fingertips off making, but hey, they work. There we go. And I know they do make end clips for these things, but you basically have to screw them on ahead of time down below, and then you're kind of guessing on your spacing. This ensures the spacing stays consistent. Gap, there we go. We called it quits yesterday. This is about as far as we had gotten. It was just so dang hot by the time we kept taking breaks to get out of the sun, because I mean, we're sitting here in direct sunlight the entire time. It can get a little bit brutal. Forgot to mention though, yesterday's shirt and the shirt that I'm currently wearing, these are two new designs that we dropped over at workforapparel.com. The cool thing is though, we're selling them as a 2-pack. You get both of these shirts, the one I'm wearing today and the orange one from yesterday, for only $32, which I think is pretty reasonable considering most people, especially if you like jump into the YouTube merch world, even though I don't ever like considering this YouTube merch, are selling like one t-shirt for $32. We're giving you guys a 2-pack. I'm not trying to make millions of dollars and get rich off of work for it. I just want to be able to, you know, provide really cool stuff at a pretty affordable price. So if you guys want both of these shirts, hit up workforapparel.com before they sell out. Now, another observation I noticed this morning when I came out here, actually the pool guy came today, and we're getting this all nice and treated now, but I noticed that the joints had opened up a little bit more, and they've closed back up now. Obviously it is hotter now than it was this morning. We knew going into this that the decking was going to expand and contract. You don't really know how much. Now that I've seen how much it contracts, I feel like we could actually almost go to like a 1/16 of a joint now, because we were probably at the hottest and the most expanded it's going to be. And that way, if we go really tight at the most expanded part, when it contracts, it's not too big of a joint. So we'll see. I probably shouldn't change it, because that way they'll all be consistent. However, let's see, one of these had opened up. It might still be a little bit open. Let's see, where are we? Right there. That's about as big as they got this morning. And this board's not actually tightened down or anything like that, but that's about the biggest. It's not the end of the world, considering if you look at the joint in between these boards, they're pretty big. We got Papa Rhino coming up today, just Papa Rhino, but we're gonna wait till things cool down a little bit. I'm probably gonna jump in right now by myself, but today's goal is to like work on this later in the day when things start to cool off, and it actually starts to, probably when the sun's going down. One of the other tools that we are using is this camo deck, I don't know what the word is, but basically it puts pressure on the deck for you when you're trying to tighten things down. Let's see if these clips are lined up good enough. Oh no, everything kind of fell out. You'll see that we don't like to screw the immediate board that we're working on. Reason being is when you put the fastener on this side, it lifts this board up. So then when you go to put in this next board, you're trying to line up the slots on this one, which are down, and this other board is up because those fasteners pinched it up, and it makes it a pain in the butt. So we actually, you can kind of see all those screws right there. I try to get 2 or 3 boards out, then we come in and we'll fasten everything down. So having a tool like this that helps you keep tension, hold on, this is gonna take me a second. Get in there. Let's just go to a section that's already done for the sake of the video. Basically, you just put this on your joist, give her a quick little turn, and then from there, you use this lever, and you can kind of see how the joints will tighten up, and it'll tighten up over the span of however many are loose. So this thing is really nice to have instead of you trying to push on here and brace yourself, especially when we're on open joists like this. It's just not that easy. This tool just makes it effortless. I wasn't gonna buy this because I thought maybe it's a little bit gimmicky. We don't really need it, but I am glad I ended up buying this. Albeit it is a $100 tool. It's not cheap, but it's a lifesaver, especially when you're working by yourself. Well, y'all, it is clearly dark out. I don't know what I'm panning around to show you, but me and HYPERLITE just finished up a few minutes ago, and we are very close to this entire front section being done. Let's turn the camera around. It's gonna be a little, there you go. Thankfully we got a nice bright light out so you can see, because the GoPros suck at night, but we are looking good. Just gotta get one more piece there and then figure out how we're gonna trim this out with the rocks, you know, kind of sticking out right there. Haven't really gotten that far. So tomorrow I gotta get some more Treks because, well, all we have left are 5 or 6 pieces. It's enough to finish the 12-foot section that we were standing on now. However, we obviously have, you know, a lot to go around the pool there. I know by buying it at different stores and at different times, we run the risk of it being a different color. At this point, there's only so much we can do if it ends up being a little different shade-wise. I'm sure the sun out here will bleach it enough, or by the time the dirt kind of hits the deck, it's gonna brown it out a little bit. We'll be good. Also never realized how big of a shadow my schnoz makes on my face. It's a big nose right there. So I gotta give a huge thank you to the guys and HYPERLITE for sticking it out with me. It was just me and HYPERLITE today in the 100-degree sun, just cooking. Oh, it is not fun building a deck in the summertime, let me tell you guys. But with that, we're gonna wrap up. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not subscribed already, please click the subscribe button now, though do not miss out on any future content. We've got a lot more steps to go to get this pool deck and all kinds of things dialed in. Don't forget to give this video a like, aka a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out workforapparel.com if you guys want to get these shirts or all of the other cool stuff that we got over there. Workforapparel.com. You guys are the best. I'm tired. I'm out.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.